January 21st, about 1:43 p.m. I want to welcome the members of the Senate Rules Committee as well as the staff. Madam Vice Chair, Ms. Fuller, welcome. It's always good to see you. I want to welcome the guests as well as the members of the audience. Madam Secretary, I think we have a quorum. Let's establish it. So please call the roll.
Senators Cannella? Here. Cannella here. Leyva? Mitchell? Here. Mitchell here. Fuller? Here. Fuller here. DeLeon?
Present.
DeLeon here.
Okay, we've established a quorum. We have two appointments that are before us today that are required to appear, two governor's appointments. We're going to take the first appointment, that is Mr. Joe Javier, who is being appointed by the governor to be the director of the Department of Rehabilitation. Now, let me correct that. Not Joe Javier, but Joe Xavier, if I'm correct, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Xavier, I want to welcome you before the Senate Rules Committee, the confirmation process. If you have any friends, colleagues, loved ones in the audience today, please feel free to introduce them before you make your statement.
Thank you, Chairman De Leon. Today I have present with me my mother, Teresa, my wife, Terry, my three children, Angie, Olivia, and Julian, as well as many other members of my family and members of my executive team.
Well, welcome to the California State Senate. You may proceed.
Chairman De Leon, members of the committee, thank you. Let me start by thanking Governor Brown for appointing me the director of the Department of Rehabilitation, Secretary Dooley for supporting my nomination. I have over 14 years of private business ownership, 16 years working within the state's civil service, a number of those years as an executive position. I'm an individual with a disability, an immigrant to this country, and a former recipient of the services provided by the Department of Rehabilitation. I have a deep passion and commitment for advancing the opportunity of individuals with disabilities. Over 30 years of working, collaborating, and partnering with community organizations, this positions me to lead the department to advance the opportunity, the employment, the independence, and equality for Californians with disabilities. Thank you, and I welcome the opportunity to answer any questions you have of me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Xavier, and again, thank you very much for introducing your wife, your three children, as well as your mother. I want to congratulate you, too, on this appointment by the governor to head up the Department of Rehabilitation. I'm just going to start off with the first question. Mr. Xavier, you have announced, obviously, a very ambitious goal, which is the 20 by 20, 20 at 20, I should say, by 20. Could you go into a little detail of what this is? Have you started already? And if so, how's it going? If you haven't started, walk us through this process and what your expectations are.
The vision for the Department of Rehabilitation is employment, independence, and equality for all Californians with disabilities. When I was appointed director, I wanted to set a goal that stretched this into the future, that caused us to think about and do a little more than what we were doing today. 20 by 20 at 20 is 20,000 individuals with disabilities competitively placed in employment each year at an average of $20 an hour by the year 2020. This will cause us to ask ourselves three key questions. One, what is it that we're not doing that we need to be doing to be creative, innovative, and come up with new solutions, new opportunities? Two, what are the things that we're doing that we need to refine and do more of? And three, what are the things that we are doing that do not contribute that we need to free up resources from? Today, we are placing 12,500 individuals into competitive employment, and this goal will ensure that we build on the initiatives and the opportunities that we have taken over the last couple of years and stretch us into that future.
Thank you much, Mr. Xavier. I'm going to open up questions or commentaries from the members of the Rules Committee. We will start. Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you very much, Senator De Leon. Good afternoon, Mr. Xavier. Thank you very much for spending the time with me we did yesterday. I was very impressed. I appreciate the conversation we had about 20 by 20. One question I have, and I thought about it after you left. We talked about, you gave me a sense of kind of the universe because I wanted to know, what effort it was going to take for you to get there, and I wanted to know the entire universe of eligible customers in your department. What do you think are the challenges, particularly we as legislators need to know for you to reach your goal of 2020 by 20? What do we need to remain mindful of?
Individuals with disabilities face a number of barriers that we work to overcome so that they can go and be competitively employed. An example of that would be the unemployment rate for individuals with disabilities is about 70%. The workforce participation rate is also very high. It's about 70% for individuals who are not disabled. However, for the individuals with disabilities, it's about 20%. And individuals who acquire a disability have a number of issues that need to be addressed, so our qualified professional rehabilitation counselors work with individuals to address any counseling and guidance needs that they have in overcoming the barriers of the disability, as well as preparing them for employment.
Thank you. Senator De Leon, when we had our conversation yesterday and looking at Mr. Xavier's resume, I noticed that he was a private business owner for a number of years and then entered the State Department in the mid-'90s. And I said, what motivated you? And he told me he'd been a consumer, but that he had met this lovely lady in the early 90s and they got married, and that it took her 6 years to convince him to interstate service. And so I told him I was going to tip my hat to her today because clearly she had the vision. He may not have understood that he could be the director of the program back in '98, but she clearly did. So girl power. Congratulations to you on today's confirmation hearing. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that's a very, very strong endorsement from Senator Holly Mitchell, no doubt about it. Senator Cannella.
Yeah, I have no questions. Just a few comments. I met with Mr. Xavier yesterday, and I can't think of a better person to run the department. Obviously, he's a man who has a disability and has overcome it, and certainly understands the services that the state can provide to the clients that now he serves. I think that's important when you're dealing with this population that really has been neglected, and I think there's a lot of work that we have to do to reach out to them and show them that they have great value and that they can provide great services and support what we're trying to do in the state. So I think very impressed with him. Also, he grew up in my district, so Hilmar and Gustine, which alone is enough for me to vote for him. But this is a department that has a great mission, and I think he set a very ambitious goal, and I think it's a goal that we should do everything we can to meet. So has my full support.
Thank you much, Mr. Cannella. Mr. Xavier, obviously you have a very strong woman who's visionary. Geographics are working for you. You have a lot of things working on your side today. So we'll go to our Vice Chair, Ms. Fuller.
Well, we too had a very good conversation, and I learned a lot of things from Joe, and I was very much impressed with his character, his perseverance, and his example. And I couldn't be more pleased to be nominating someone who has it all, who has the perseverance, the correct vision, very articulate in his goals, understands the handicaps that he's going to be advising people to overcome, understands their challenges and their benefits, and has a vision beyond what most of us would have for ourselves. And so with that, I'm a little emotional, but I'd just like to ask him one question so he can tell us some good news about his department. And that was, I asked him, what is the state's biggest challenge in meeting the federal standards of the vocational rehabilitation program? And I'd like to have you hear what he had to say about how we're doing with federal standards.
The Department of Rehabilitation, the state of California, does very well. We are at 58% of our success rate. Nationally, vocational rehabilitation is at 54%. The requirement is to be at 55%. In addition to doing well with that standard and indicator, we are for the first time in 10 years passing 5 of the 10 indicators. And as I mentioned previously, when you consider the unemployment rate of individuals with disability as well as their participation in the workforce, We certainly know that we have a lot of work to do. The goal that I've set for the department will ensure that we focus on the right work, the right initiatives to move us further in that direction. And we certainly would like to move California not just from 54 to 58, where we are above the national average, but frankly, further than that, into 64. That means more lives are changed, more lives have the opportunity, more individuals with disabilities have the opportunity to experience what I've had the opportunity to experience: meaningful employment, contribution to community, contribution to society.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fuller. Ms. Leyva.
First, let me apologize for my tardiness. Mr. Xavier, I so enjoyed meeting with you yesterday, and I will just add to a little bit of what everyone else has said. You are absolutely the right person for the job. I would just like to renew the commitment I made to you yesterday that if there's anything myself or my staff can do with your vision of educating people, that people with disabilities have something to offer, we would very much like to do that, because I too believe that. I believe everyone has something to offer and everyone has value. So please let us help in any way, and I'm very excited to vote yes for you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Leyva, and I will conclude this specific file item that we have before us today, Mr. Xavier. Clearly, you have impressed very much both the members as well as the staff. You are very inspirational, obviously not just to the blind community, the disabled community, but to all communities. And no doubt about it, you are inspirational to all individuals with challenges that they're beset with, that with perseverance, sometimes, some luck and a bunch of other factors that you can overcome and make things happen. So trust me when I say that you motivate, inspire not just the disabled community, but the non-disabled community as well, because you're proving that you are equal to all individuals, and you are very inspirational. So with that, colleagues, I'd like to entertain a motion. We have, before we do that, I know that we have a lot of folks who have come up here who want to testify in support of Mr. Xavier, so why don't we start with that? So those who are in support of Mr. Xavier, come on up. We have a couple microphones. Sure.
I'm Brian Bashan. I am CEO of the Lighthouse for the Blind in San Francisco. I'm speaking today as chair of the Blind Advisory Committee, which is a state statutory body under SB 105. I've known Joe for 16 years, but when he started working with the advisory committee, something remarkable happened. Blind are not known for their harmonious nature and collegiality sometimes. Joe took the opportunity to take this body and use it as truly a platform to listen and to get best practices and to get policy guidance. Through that process, many difficult things started to happen. Difficult things like reallocations of state programs for the older blind. He was able to get this done because he had a harmonious and really inquiring, searching intelligence for what we need to do. And I am very excited that in the tradition of Catherine Campisi and Tony Sauer and Ed Roberts, whose birthday we celebrate this week, Joe is going to take a look at ways in which he can involve the community in deep decisions. I was heartened that just last week, 450 people were on a single telephone call to talk about what's going on as the Department of Rehabilitation changes and transmutes. People with disabilities in California are not sharing fully in the California prosperity and dream. And Joe knows this in every bone in his body. He started in that little San Joaquin Valley town on a dairy, worked his way up through every possible source. He is the right man to fill this position now. And I just want to say, from the Blind Advisory Committee and from the community in general, this is the best choice possible, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next Witness in support.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Cifuentes. I'm also a previous client of Department of Rehabilitation. And in my over 30 years of working within the state civil service system, I had a lot of occasions to work with the professional people at the Department of Rehabilitation. Today I'm representing the Association of California State Employees with Disabilities, a bona fide state employee advocacy organization, and we strongly support the appointment of Mr. Xavier to the position of Director of the Department of Rehabilitation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cifuentes. Next witness in support.
Good afternoon. I'm Andy Mudrick. I'm the Deputy Director at Disability Rights California. We're a statewide nonprofit organization that advocates on behalf of people with disabilities, and I've had the pleasure of knowing Mr. Xavier for about 7 years in our capacity of advocating for people with disabilities, and I'm honored to speak in support of his confirmation. One of the things that I'm happy about is Joe's leadership in this position, which he's demonstrated already in something involving employment of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their right to earn a competitive wage and work in integrated settings. And under Joe's leadership, the Department of Rehabilitation has entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Developmental Services and the California Department of Education to develop a blueprint to move the state forward in this regard. I'm really proud to be part of that work with Mr. Xavier and happy with that leadership. Just very briefly, I just wanted to mention a few things that we hope to see from the department under Joe's strong leadership. One of which is ensuring that there continues to be appropriate funding for programs serving people with traumatic brain injury, and a renewed effort to ensure that California establishes a Medicaid waiver program for people with traumatic brain injury. Identifying ways to most effectively provide benefits planning, which is called for in the governor's proposed budget, implementation of the promoting readiness of minors in supplemental security income, which is a grant from the Social Security Administration to ensure the employment of youth with disabilities.
Are we almost there?
I'm sorry?
Are we almost there? Okay. We're almost done.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
And implementation of the new Work Opportunities Investment Act.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so very much. We have more members of the audience who want to speak in favor of Mr. Xavier. I'm going to ask you to keep your comments as brief as possible. We have some other appointments that are before this committee, so please, please, Wendes. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman De Leon and members of the committee. My name is Linda Ng. I am the president of Asian Pacific State Employee Association. APSEA's mission is to ensure equal opportunity and to advance the careers of the API state employees. And we strongly support the confirmation of Mr. Joe Xavier as the director of the Department of Rehabilitation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next witness.
Good afternoon. I'm Gwyneth Tracy, coordinator of Disability Services at Sacramento City College, and I'm representing the community colleges and as president-elect of KPED, also representing community colleges. We've had a long collaboration with Department of Rehabilitation, and Joe Xavier continues that tradition of community colleges collaborating with Department of Rehabilitation for training, education, and employment opportunities for students with disabilities. We have workability programs that have been running for over 30 years with Department of Rehabilitation, and these are on the community college campuses. And Sacramento City College is one of 5 pilots. We've just expanded it with Department of Rehab of College to Career, which is a program for students with intellectual disabilities in which we provide education, training, internships, and job placement with the support of Department of Rehabilitation. We're pleased Mr. Xavier has actually come to our campus during one of our achievement ceremonies and spoke to the students and the families. He's a very hands-on kind of director, which we very much appreciate, very in tune with the needs. And as a participant of that 450-person phone call, I understand he's really working hard to make some changes on how we provide services to reach those adults with disabilities and get them employed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next witness in support.
Thank you. Is this on?
There we go.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Anna Acton. I'm the Executive Director of Freed Center for Independent Living and also the Chair of the California Foundation for Independent Living Centers. The Department of Rehab provides funding, technical assistance, to 28 independent living centers throughout the state of California, which my center, Freed, is one of them. The California Foundation for Independent Living Centers is made up of 21 member organizations throughout the state. We're here to express our support of Joe Xavier and his confirmation. On a personal note, I've spent hours with Joe developing our leadership together. He really embodies independent living. And it's really important, I think, for our membership and for my organization that we have someone like Joe in a leadership position at the Department of Rehabilitation. We believe it's important to have peers that are in important roles that help with the integration of people with disabilities into the community and ensuring services are made are available to them. There's really no difference between employment and independent living. You can't really have one without the other. So in order to be employed, you need to have access to housing and transportation. When you mention barriers, to employment, those are really critical pieces that we work on. How do you develop your skills to be employable? And then independent living really at its heart means that you are employed. You're not living in poverty and relying on benefits. And so this is really an important relationship within the Department of Rehabilitation. We really look forward to working with Joe and his engagement of stakeholders around important initiatives that both take place within the Department of Rehabilitation but also in other state agencies. There's a real need to integrate and reform long-term services and supports, and we believe that independent living centers and a variety of community services, including employment, are an important part of that discussion, and look forward to our continued collaboration and working towards true equality and community living.
Thank you very much. Next witness in support. I think we have two more witnesses.
Thank you. I'm Richard Rosenberg. I'm the vocational coordinator for Whittier Union High School District. We coordinate with the State Department of Education and the State Department of Rehabilitation. I have had the honor and the privilege to work with a number of previous directors of the Department of Rehab as I chair the Cooperative Program Advisory Committee, which is a group of vendors and providers and co-op programs from schools, mental health programs who work with the Department of Rehab to assist our mission of quality of life for individuals with disabilities. Mostly my personal preference and specialty is transition of school-age youth. And I think the comment and the question, what can we do, what can you all do, it's really to help educate families, one child at a time, of how they can navigate the system, how they can work through education, Department of Rehab, regional centers, Social Security. We are very pleased to support and work with Joe. I had the honor of being with him a year ago in Washington, D.C. as one of our national leaders, as California has received the Cal Promise Project. I am a regional manager for LA County. Going to D.C. with Joe, watching his command of the language, the audience, the group, as a person who's visually impaired blind is huge. And I think he is a great role model for us as individuals navigating the system, as well as for our young adults as they come into the system. So as part of Cooperative Services, a high school district, I'm also a professor, I'm also a parent of two young men who have navigated through the Department of Rehab. We are putting it in good hands. It is the real world, and we thank you for taking this time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosenberg. Thank you. Next witness.
Regular Chair representing the ARC and United Cerebral Palsy. As California enters this new era as far as employment and careers for people with developmental, well, all disabilities, there's a large part of our community is very excited about these opportunities and challenges. There are others who have a lot of anxiety that the legacy programs that they've come to rely on might be discontinued without adequate replacements. We support Mr. Xavier because we believe he's the right person to manage this transition, provide these opportunities while continuing to respect the decisions of our individuals within our diverse community.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next witness.
Thank you, Chair DeLong. My name is Tony Sauer. I'm the previous director of the Department of Rehabilitation, and I had the opportunity and privilege to encourage Joe to apply for 2 of our deputy positions when I was a director, and watching Joe grow in those positions. And every time we had a difficult project, we knew to turn to Joe, and he would always come through with that. And when it was time for me to have to step down as director a year and a half ago, it was a difficult decision because I love the work and I love the job and I love the mission and vision of the department, but knowing that the leadership team and Joe was there ready to go was just made my transition so much easier. And I would encourage you, sounds like you're going to go forward, but I just thank you for that and encourage you to...
you never know. Things happen. Yeah.
I would be surprised, but to confirm Joe Xavier as the next director at the Department of Rehabilitation. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have our last witness today.
Well, I'm Robert Benson, and actually, for me, it was money a model from CDK, and we started to support Soldier here. So, Xavier for Director of the Department of Rehabilitation.
Thank you. It's Mr. Bates. Right? Thank you, Mr. Bates. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, now we've had our supporters. Those in opposition. No opposition. Okay, we have no opposition. We've had all our supporters. Quite, not overwhelming. It was quite unanimous. You know, the testimony here today on your behalf, Mr. Xavier. I think the arguments, commentaries have been very compelling for the members of the Rules Committee. Can I entertain a motion? We have a motion that's been made by our Vice Chair, Ms. Fuller. Madam, we have a motion. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Canella? Aye. Canella, aye. Leyva? Aye. Leyva, aye. Mitchell? Aye. Mitchell, aye. Fuller? Aye. Fuller, aye. DeLeon?
Aye.
DeLeon, aye.
Mr. Xavier, you are confirmed 5-0 from the Senate Rules Committee. Congratulations.